I suppose the oldest occupation in the world is being a farmer. And many times in the Bible you read about farming and illustrations from farming and farmers. That's the case in James chapter 5, verses 7 and 8. Those verses say, "Therefore be patient, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, waiting patiently for it until he receives the early and latter rain. You also be patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord is at hand." You remember the context of this in the previous verses talks about Christians who apparently had been cheated out of or defrauded of the wages that they had earned while they were working in fields. And now the Holy Spirit is telling them through James to be patient about these things and to establish their hearts about these things, because even though they may have been defrauded, they may have been cheated, they may have not been paid what they should have been paid, put it in perspective. And put it in the perspective that the Lord is going to return someday, and then things like this really are not going to matter. I know it's hard to think that when you're suffering at the moment, but the larger perspective is about the coming of the Lord. And he says it's not something that's going to happen immediately, although that doesn't sound the case, because the very last phrase says the coming of the Lord is at hand. And yet we also have to understand that the illustration about the farmer and the farming is that he waits patiently. He plants his seeds. He waits for the early rain and the latter rain. This is a process that takes time before he finally is able to pick the fruit from the seeds that he planted, because they've finally grown fully. And the coming of the Lord is like that. Here we are on earth experiencing day-to-day things, some of them positive, some of them negative. But eventually, if we are patient, the Lord will return, and we have to live like with the perspective that it's at hand at any time, and yet it hasn't happened yet. In fact, 3 times in 3 sentences he says, be patient or wait patiently. If it was immediate, there'd be no need to say that. We need to be patient about the coming of the Lord, put it in perspective about the way we live every day and the things that happen to us, and just be ready for the day when he does come.